میگم ذوق زده شدم.
We'll get started in just a minute. Okay, thank you all so much for coming this evening to the Carnegie Endowment. I'm Karim Sadjadpour, and I have, with my friends who are in this world of writing and advocacy, and a deal in which if they write a book, they have an open invite to speak at Carnegie. And Masih and her husband, Combis, told me that they were going to be writing a book last year. I never imagined that the book would be done within a year, and we will be hosting them tonight. So we're very, very honored to host Masih. I am reminded of a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt whenever I think about Masih, the former First Lady. She said, "A woman is like a tea bag. You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in hot water." And Masih has both been in hot water quite often, and she's very strong to show for it. The name of her book is The Wind in My Hair, and I really do think it is one of the most important, unique, captivating books which has been written about post-revolutionary Iran in the last 4 decades. It's for sale in the back, and we're selling it lower than Amazon, and Masih will sign it here afterwards, so you should definitely buy it here. Masih, as some of you know, is from a village of 650 people in northern Iran called Qomi Kola. If you actually Google Qomi Kola, the only thing that comes up is Masih. So
I love that.
I Googled it today, and only photos of Masih showed up.
Qomi Kola is more popular than clerics in Iran right now.
Exactly,
You can Google
right.
it.
And she writes in the book that in her village growing up, things like ceiling fans and bananas were luxuries. And so she's gone from Qomi Kola to Brooklyn to, in my mind, being really one of the most important and dynamic women's rights activists in Iran. What's remarkable in the internet age is that the diaspora communities can really become integral parts of the homelands of their mother countries. And that's certainly the case with Masih. Between her Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Telegram, she has several million followers. And when I check the numbers she actually gets more views than entire networks, whether that's BBC Persian or Manato. So she really is a force of nature. From an early age, Masih didn't like the hijab, even though she came from a quite traditional family. And there's a wonderful quote in the book in which she says, "If it's so great, why don't men wear it too?" And she writes that she's the first woman in her family to have been arrested, jailed, pregnant before marriage, and divorced. So she's had a lot of firsts, both in the context of her own family, but in the context of Iranian women. And several years ago, I invited Masih to speak at a conference in London, which I helped to organize on behalf of the Aspen Institute for members of Congress, about 25 members of Congress, senators, House members. And traditionally, the conversation about Iran in those contexts is about enriched uranium and Hezbollah and Bashar Assad. And Masih came and gave an incredible 25-minute presentation about her story and hijab. And we had a fascinating discussion afterwards, and there was a very prominent member of Congress who asked Masih a question. She was totally captivated by Masih's presentation, and she inadvertently conflated the word jihad and hijab. So she was asking Masih about the jihad. Why, you know, why are women forced to wear the jihad? And that evening, we had one of the speakers joining us a little bit late, and so he was getting caught up by another member of Congress. And that other member of Congress said, "Well, today we had a fascinating debate which centered around one question, and that question was the debate in Iran, Haji or no Haji." So he had said it mixed up the word hijab and Haji as well, so she, I think by now.
And I said, when the pronunciation of hijab is that difficult, imagine wearing that.
Exactly, but I think she single-handedly educated much of the country, certainly members of Congress, about about the issue of hijab. Our lovely moderator tonight is Nina Ansary, who's written a wonderful book herself called Jewels of Allah. And though Masih and Nina come from very different backgrounds, as I said, Masih comes from a village of 650 people. Nina comes from one of Iran's most prominent families. Her father is really one of those most dynamic and accomplished Iranians I know. He was Minister of Finance, ambassador to the United States before the revolution. So though they come from these very different backgrounds, they've in some ways kind of arrived at the same destination. So you guys are going to be talking a little bit about that today. So Nina and Masih will have as much time as you like for your own conversation, and then we'll open it up to all of you. And as I said, we have books in the back, cheaper than Amazon, which Masih will gladly sign for you. So thank you again for coming, and look forward to the discussion.
So don't run away after that. Buy the book.
Thank you, Karim John, for the lovely introduction. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored to be here to moderate this discussion. I loved reading your book. Just such a fascinating story of politics, culture, gender roles, the complexities of Iranian society, but most importantly, a very emotional story about the Iranian woman, her resilience, her hope, her strength, her courage. So congratulations,
Thank you
Masih.
so much.
And congratulations, BBC Radio just named Masih's book as its book of the week this week. So the accolades keep coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Which is a testament to the work that you do. Masih, I wanted to open with some powerful words in your book from your mother, if that's okay.
Yes, sure.
So I'm going to quote Masih's lovely mom. You write, "My mother used to say that the darkness is a monster, a shapeless black demon that feeds on your fear. If you are scared of it, then the shadow grows bigger and it will envelope you and swallow you whole. Open your eyes wide as possible," she'd urged me when I was a young girl. "Stare in the darkness and the shadow will disappear. Never be afraid of the darkness, but stare it down." Masih, you refer to your mother as a true feminist and that she was unique because she earned her own money and didn't rely on your father. And then you speak about your father, who was very traditional and really believed, really was beholden to antiquated notions of womanhood, and that you mentioned how he expected girls to stay indoors and out of sight. So not what you are, obviously, and that every time you wanted to do something like go out and play with the boys, you heard it's not allowed. Now, as a young girl, it was very obvious you had a mind of your own. And not only that, you were determined to forge your own journey, your own path, which is, on the one hand, very inspirational. On the other hand, you showed that being born and raised in that environment, you were determined not to be beholden to the life that was prescribed to you, for you as a woman in the Islamic Republic. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of growing up in a household with such opposing viewpoints, meaning you had a mother who was an obvious feminist and unique, as you mentioned, and a very traditional father. What were some of the challenges you faced growing up in a household with opposing views like that?
First of all, I said, I trust you, but I changed my mind. I don't trust you anymore. Because I told you, don't ask the first question about my mother. It's going to make me really emotional.
But I said I'm going to read you the quote about...
But I'm going to tell you, when I came here, I saw two amazing women, and I hugged them. I haven't hugged my mom for 9 years. Azar Nafisi and Mahnaz Afgham. I'm really pleased at meeting so wonderful people here, including these two amazing women. And when I was a kid, I never thought that I'm going to write about my mother, because my hero was people like Azar Nafisi, and my dream was like, can I write one day like Azar Nafisi, wrote it to the rest of the world? Can I do the same? And so here, my dreams come true, and my mom became a hero in my book, and I'm going to tell you how. My mom, who's not able to read and write, we didn't have inside bathroom. We were really poor, so we had outhouse, and it was in the backyard garden, which was really dark. As I wrote in my book, it was pitch black, even blacker than black. And my mom used to say that, I'm not going to take you to the outhouse every night. So just, stare into the darkness. When you stare into the darkness, then the darkness will disappear. But if you let your fear win, then the darkness can devour you. So I had so many darkness in my life. Being expelled from high school, going into prison at the age of 19, being expelled from Iranian parliament, growing up in a poor society, and 2 of my brothers were involved in the war between Iran and Iraq. Both of them got injured. Being a woman means that you experience discrimination every day. And if you are poor, that means everyone discriminates against you. So I had to make a decision. My mom said that just open your eyes as wide as you can. And I did. That is the way that I made a decision that to be a victim or to be a victorious. So I became, the hero of my own life rather than be a person who, timid, scared of everything. And I remember that my little brother was an example of all the freedom that I wanted to have because, in the early age, as Karim mentioned, that I didn't like hijab, that doesn't mean I was a, open-minded, girl, and I was aware of feminist movement. I was fighting for equality. Not at all. All came in an innocent way from jealousy. I didn't want my brother to enjoy everything that I was banned. I had to be دختر خوب. In my own dialect, خارکیجا. So I had to be someone who, to carry all the most visible symbol of Islamic Republic on my body as a kid from the age of 7, the hijab. And my brother was the one just jumping in the river, enjoying, the beautiful river in Qomikola, riding a bicycle, singing, playing with boys around anytime he wanted. And I had to stay behind the curtain. So, and I was like, anytime I did something which I was banned and forbidden, so I get locked out. My father put me in a room and then locked the door. And my mom said that anytime when you get, locked out, is that correct?
Yes.
Anytime when you get locked out, just, look around. You will find a window. Sneak into the same room through that window. So I got expelled from high school. I got expelled from Iranian parliament. I got expelled from my newspaper. I got expelled from my own country. And I found my window, which is social media. I am there every day. And I learned it all from my mother. I was the one, we had a black and white TV in my house, watching all the clerics, all the mullahs. Each channel, new mullah. All of them talking about me, my body, all of them. So all the troublemaker in Iran is just women. My hair was so important than everything. So now I am not the one listening to the clerics. They are listening to me. And when I'm saying they're listening to me, it means they know me by my name. And they have different names for me. They call me a whore. They call me a prostitute. They call me the agent of CIA, the agent of MI6, Zionist, agent of Donald Trump. So I don't care. As far as they are listening to me and millions of Iranian women, I'm happy. I am not the listener. And that is all I learned from my mother. So that is why I strongly believe that if you want to bring change within the society, first of all, you have to start your own revolution, which I started my own revolution from my kitchen.
Beautiful, thank you. Masih Jan, you talk about in May 2006 when you visited Kharij. How do you translate Kharij in
Kharij, that's all.
Like outside of Iran. The first time you went as an Etemad Milli columnist to Beirut, and you saw women in the street wearing no headscarves and not being harassed, beaten, or anything like that, and how the initial shock of that has stayed with you. Can you please give us insight for those of us who, were not privy to that mindset of what when you went to Kharij, the image that you saw, was it very different from what you held, or was it different from what you had imagined or what you had been told?
No, it was totally different when you feel the wind in your hair, the experience, you know. And I remember, you know, from the early age, I wanted to be as free as Ali, my brother. But it's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight for somebody who is forced to wear it from the age of 7. I always say that when you wear it from early childhood, then it's going to be part of your body. You know, it's not easy to take it off, and when you go to Kharaj, just, you know, take it off and enjoy it. No, there are so many barriers. Not only the government, not only the law, it's emotional pressure that you don't want to lose your, you know, your community. You don't want to lose your emotional band with your family. And I want to say a story about how it was difficult for me, even Kharaj, to take off my headscarf and publish a picture of myself. Like everywhere when I was going, I was unveiled, except on TV. So it's just, I know it's hypocrisy, but I needed my parents. And I remember I gave a talk in San Francisco, and I was wearing my famous black hat, which my so-called hijab. And I was my speech was against the whole system, because it was during the demonstration. All people were really angry. They were really sad. And I said that for more than 30 years, we, the people of Iran, had the fear inside us. And now this is the government of Iran. They fear their own people. So now this is the time that the whole government should be gone. And my speech went viral, and it went to my village. So my mom was just watching my talk on a mobile phone and shouting my father's name. My father's name is Ali as well. He was going, Ali, معصومه آرش حجاب دارنه. میگفت نگاه کن دختر من, my darling sister, my darling daughter, she still wears hijab. And my father just came and listened to what I said. And so he got angry, which I cannot say what he said. So he said that تو کلاهش ببین این چی میگه، تو داری خوشحالی که این حجاب داره، این بالات پایین سیستم شسته گذاشته. So my father got really angry that you're really happy that she keeps her hat. She's just, you know, saying the whole system must be gone. So for my mom, it was not important that what I'm saying. So that shows that this small piece of cloth became the honor of the family and everything in such society. And that is why it took me 2 years even outside Iran, which, you know, I could take off my headscarf, which my black hat on my media appearance. That is why I always say that. کلاهی که خود آدمی سر خودش میذاره دردش خیلی بیشتر از اینه که دیگران سر آدم کلاه بذارن. You can translate it.
Oh my God. The hat which you put, say that slowly, the hat which you put on your own head?
Yes.
Okay.
It means that when you lie to yourself, it's more painful than when the government lies to you.
When you don't live your own truth.
Yes, be your true self. Yeah. You know, sometimes this is the government, the law. Sometimes it's just you.
It's liberating to be yourself in many ways, which brings me the piece of cloth that you mentioned, which brings me to the next question. First of all, you're quite possibly the Islamic Republic's worst nightmare. And I mean this in the best, most complimentary way.
And I correct you, it's all women in Iran.
Yeah.
They're scared of me just because I give the platform to them.
Right. But, you know, that's what I was going to get to, that you're giving a voice to millions of women. Millions of the hardest to reach women. You know, the regime tries to silence all these women, and you're on the outside giving them a voice, millions, and bringing all their trials and tribulations to the attention of the global community at large. Masih, my question is, out of all the gender discriminatory laws in Iran, and the list of which we know is endless, why did you choose the compulsory hijab as your focal point of contention?
Good question. First of all, I don't want to show off and saying that I had a plan. No, it was just an accident. You know, I was the one telling myself that compulsory hijab is not that important. I can even wear a chador and go to Iranian parliament and expose the corruption. I was the one always saying that Iran, especially the Middle East, has so many bigger problems. So let's solve bigger problem. You know, freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. political freedom. When I left Iran, first, my main focus was about human rights and exposing the corruption in politics. And I was the one actually exposing the story of 57 people who got killed during 2009 demonstration. My main focus was that. So I had a personal story which always خفش می‌کردم. Suppressed and doing self-censorship, that, hijab is not that important, just leave it behind. And then my Facebook page became cheerless, like full of sorrow, sad news, because I was covering the story of those people who are getting killed, tortured to death, who got, beaten up to death after the demonstration. So I got depressed. I went out. I was running in a beautiful street in London, full of blossoms. To me, when I see blossoms and tree, it's like Nicola. So I was enjoying myself. I published a photo, and to just, tell my story to other people who are like sad, like me, that, we have to see the other side of life. So I said that this is spring here. And every time when I run in a free country and I feel the wind in my hair, it just reminds me of the time when my hair was like a hostage in the hands of Iranian government. That was the caption. And I didn't, have any plan to launch a campaign. I got so many comments from Iranian women envying at my freedom from compulsory hijab. When? At the same time, when there was a demonstration in Iran, when there were so many bigger problems in Iran. So I learned from women that they want to talk about their personal freedom, and it's important for them. So actually, تلنگر رو زنا به من زدن که this is important for us. So soon after, I found another picture of myself, which was taken inside Iran. Me driving down toward my hometown, Jadeh Haraz, without hijab, and I published that with another caption. I am a woman. I didn't have freedom of choice in Iran, but I knew how to bypass the authority and create stealthy freedom, azadiye yavashaki. And I know if you are a woman and you don't believe in hijab, you have so many yavashaki, means stealthy, guilty pleasure. So, and I ask whether you want to share your, stealthy freedom with me, because freedom is freedom. Freedom cannot come with any adjective. And stealthy freedom, which Iranian government made us to do everything in stealth, is not going to scare the government. But when you talk about it, then it scares the government. So I was bombarded by photos from Iranian women sending so many beautiful photos. That time, I just learned that these women need their own platform. They want to be their true selves. They want to express themselves. That is how my stealthy freedom was born. And after 3 years, I found that all the media around the world, without any exaggeration, all the media in the world, name it, even Kayhan, Ansary Osima, they wrote about us. For more than, for 4 decades, we have been censored. But now, around the world, all the media, they're talking about our true selves, and Iranian women showing their resistance. So after 3 years, I decided to do something like shift the online movement to something offline. And I created White Wednesdays campaign, because this is the way that these people now can meet each other in public and identify each other in public. And why I picked hijab for my campaign, the reason was women inside Iran. But for White Wednesday, I decided, because I found that through this small piece of cloth, you can gather more people. How? If you talk about custody of getting the right to, the custody of child, it affects some of the women. When you talk about, the right to travel, to get a passport, some of the women can join you. When you talk about entering the stadium, some of the women, they're interested in this topic. But when you talk about hijab, you're not talking about those women who don't want to wear hijab. You're talking about the whole society. How? It's an insult to my mother who wears hijab, but she doesn't want to force you to wear hijab. It's an insult to men that you cannot control yourself and you get excited if you see my hair. So it's an insult to whole society. And when we talk about hijab, we're talking about our dignity, our identity, and we talk about the whole society. We talk about our bodies, which has been taken like a hostage for 4 decades. That is why now, when the girls of Revolution Street or women of White Wednesday putting a headscarf and a stick, they really don't want just, fight against a small piece of cloth. This is just the beginning.
It's more symbolic.
Yes, and when we bring this wall down, then the rest will get easier.
Beautiful, thank you. Masih John, you talk about a lot of obstacles that you overcame, and I love how you say when one door would close, you would find another way to open the door. I particularly love the comical instances that you talk about in your book, that you take a very serious situation and you inject humor into it. One of my absolute favorites, and I want to ask you, is when you went up to then President Khatami and you started singing a pop song to his face, because women in Iran are not allowed to sing solo in public. Can I ask what the pop song was? And what his reaction was.
Sometimes you might think that, it's a brave thing to do, but دستم می‌لرزید. It was not easy because you're sitting, in front of cleric who says that, Ayatollah Khomeini said this and that, using a lot of fatwa. And I didn't know what to do. So things, it was just simple. You want to know whether he ever heard of a female singing. I just, asked, have you ever heard a woman singing? And he said, yes, I heard a woman reading Quran. I said, no, that is totally different. No, I'm actually asking whether you heard, female singer. And he said, no. And I said, Agar Khuda Khuda Mara Begiriani Mana Semanat Ra Begam Begirianam. Listen to me.
What was his reaction? Was he stunned?
No. He wanted to keep me silent, and he did this. Nervously.
And the other one I love is where you took a photograph of a grumpy-looking foreign minister.
That was not a joke. I was really serious.
Yeah,
I was really mad.
I know you were mad, but it was comical the way the overall message, which is, so you took a grumpy picture of Foreign Minister Javad Zarif and you photoshopped a blue hijab on him, and you put out disseminating the message that men should join this movement. Did he ever, as far as react to that, or?
Yes. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not doing that only to Javad Zarif. If any man, any of you men here, says that this is not important, I really make you to wear hijab and sit for half an hour here. And I think this is the only way you can make those men who say that this is not important to understand how it means to be humiliated, how it means to be forced to wear hijab. I remember when I was sending letters to female politicians around the world that when we are fighting against a discriminatory law, you have to, understand that legitimizing this law, giving power to the government of Iran to put more pressure on us. So one of the female politicians challenged Javad Zarif in France and saying that, why are you forcing us to wear hijab? And he said that, this is part of our culture, so you have to respect our culture. I was really mad. I didn't know what to do, speechless. So instead of writing an article, I photoshopped him, and I said, if this is a culture, so respect the culture. And then I didn't expect that men are going to do that, because I wrote a caption that respect the culture, and I asked him, you really want to understand how it means to be humiliated and forced to wear hijab? Just wear it for 1 hour. And I was bombarded by photos from men, beautiful movement, wearing hijab, sitting next to their wives, sisters, daughters, mothers, being unveiled, and saying that we don't own our women. We don't want to force them. And I actually received a comment from a woman saying that my father said that bring that headscarf. She's just making a big,
spectacle. She's making a big spectacle, yeah.
And then bring that headscarf, I'm going to wear it. So the girl wrote to me that I gave my headscarf to my father, and he just wore it. And then He said that, it's not that difficult. I said, okay, so the whole day you're gonna wear that and go and do the shopping. And then after like 15 minutes, my father came to me and said, this is disaster. So, and he said, bring the camera and take the picture and send it to Masih. She made my day by that comment. And I published that. And I asked them to send a video to me. Just when you talk about this yourself, people can understand it. I received a video from a woman and standing next to her husband. And the husband said that, I never understood, I never had this feeling. But when I wore hijab, I found that how humiliating. You forced my mother, my sister to wear hijab. That video got 12 million views. Just Google men in hijab, Iran, now this. 12 million views. Supreme leader of Iran, president of Iran, the smiley foreign minister of Iran, all together, they cannot get that much views. That shows the power of Iranian people, men and women, when they get together.
Beautiful. I want to make sure we have time because we want to give the audience a chance to ask Masih questions. So how much?
Yeah, you stop me. I talk a lot.
No, you talk. We can't get enough of you. I just want to know. I can keep going. Okay. Masih John, realistically speaking, this is going a little bit outside of the box. So realistically speaking, do you think it's possible for women in Iran to gain freedom, to gain rights, even partial rights, I'm being very realistic, within the framework of Islam?
Look, this is the main pillar of Islamic Republic of Iran. Actually, there are three pillars: death to America, death to Israel, and hijab. I strongly believe that each of us has our own responsibility. I cannot overthrow the regime by myself, but I can gather all these women together to ask for their own rights, because I strongly believe if a woman do not let anyone to force her about her own body, then that society never gonna let the government to oppress her. So this is really important for me. And some people might say that, not some people, the reformists always want to keep me silent and saying that the same argument. So this is a red line for Islamic Republic. Let's do the reform, and then the right to choose, it's going to come itself step by step. I don't understand. 40 years, step by step, never happened. And those people who want to overthrow the regime, for 40 years, they have been saying that when we overthrow the regime, then of course women are going to be free. So for 40 years, we have to carry the most visible symbol of oppression on our body, and then waiting for the regime to be gone. We can help, ourselves to be powerful. And this is my job. And now I get a lot of criticized that why you say that, within the Islamic Republic, hijab is not going to be, intikhabi.
It's not going to be a choice.
A choice. Mm-hmm. So you make this issue political, then you put women in danger, and you make the government of Iran more strict. This is a big lie as well. Because I strongly believe when those women inside Iran going in a platform, putting their headscarf in a stick, it's not just a headscarf. It's the most visible symbol of oppression for 40 years. And when the woman has the power to protest publicly, then if one day these men and women want to get together, it's easier because they already get united.
Well, a testament to your work is the recent Iran protests, which women took, the reins from that.
And Vidam Wahid became the
well,
symbol.
She did what, your movement, which is White Wednesday, she went on top of a utility box with the white scarf.
It was on Wednesday, and she
Right.
went there from the beginning. When I published her photo, I got goosebumps because to me, she was the Rosa Parks of Iran. She came with her own idea of putting the headscarf on a stick, which was amazing.
Yes.
And she encouraged many other women to do exactly the same as she did.
Some men were doing it as well.
And the government of Iran arrested 29 women of White Wednesdays who protested in public. And I'm going to give you an example of Shima Babai. So Shima Babai got arrested, and she was interrogated for hours and hours. She wrote on her Instagram page when she got released that I was interrogated for hours to admit, to confess that I'm working for Masih Alinejad. My interrogator said that your crime is that you're working for Masih. And I said, no, this is Masih is working for me. And I was like, you know, this is the generation, this is the new generation, to answer your question. This generation is not going to ask for Islamic Republic, you know, to give their rights. They are not waiting for compulsory hijab to be removed. They remove it themselves. This generation is not begging their rights. They're not waiting for the moderate president, for the conservative president, for the, you know, open-minded one, for nobody. For me, the most amazing thing is through their civil disobedience, they do everything. You know, women in Iran, they are told you're not allowed to sing. But we sing anyway. We have so many singers in Iran. We are told that you cannot dance. We dance anyway. We are told that you cannot show your hair. We do it anyway. Anything that we are told not to do, we are doing it. And this is the way that we find our own agency. And I strongly believe that if every individual person find that they are powerful and they are their own leader, then we can easily get rid of this, you know, oppressors.
Well, on this very positive note, can we open up the room to question and answer? Khanum Afghami.
Actually, this is the first time I've met Masih, and I worked for the women's movement in Iran for some 30 years. And I have to say, Masih, I don't know if I can say it without actually having tears, that it is so heartening to hear you and to see that what we dreamed of is there, it's alive, it's feisty, it's full of energy. And also, I totally believe in what you're saying. I think one of the major causes of the Iranian Revolution was what we had achieved for women prior to the revolution. I think it hasn't been paid enough attention to because women cannot be the cause of anything major. It has to be some other thing. But it's obvious if the Islamic Republic of Iran has spent all this money, all this trouble, all this time to just simply keep a scarf on women's heads, it's a symbol of all that you are saying. Sorry that I'm taking the young lady's time, but we are of the same passion, and for me, she is a realization of that passion. It shows that we're going to do it. I salute you. I love you, and I wish you all the best in the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My father was against you.
Proud of that.
I needed that hug. You know, we never had the chance to learn about you. When I left Iran, you know, I had the revolution against myself as well. I had to do self-education to understand about what we had before the revolution. And, you know, we were fighting for something that we already had. And I don't understand when some people say that this is not important. I don't know how can I convince the world that change only comes through women. Believe in women. Trust women. Because after the revolution, only 2 years after the revolution, the Islamic Republic of Iran actually started to, you know, to oppress women because they know that this is a tool to control the whole society. So that is why, for me, when I pick up hijab, I always say that because I strongly believe change comes. The next revolution is going to be a women revolution in Iran.
Just wait for the mic, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to know if Jewish or Baha'i or Zoroastrian women are required to wear hijab in Iran too.
You see, we're so powerful. Yes, we force everyone, and we claim that this is not important. We have so many bigger problems. You know, actually, I went to European Parliament, and then there were this is really important story. They invited me to talk about burkini ban in France. So you see, it's not an internal matter, and it's not a small issue. It's really important. The whole world should get together and condemn burkini ban and travel ban. But when it comes to compulsory hijab, it's a cultural issue. It's, you know, it's an internal matter. It's required by law. I went to European Parliament.